Good evening and welcome to yet another awesome session of Mindful Living. We truly appreciate your taking out time and joining the session today. Finance is rated amongst the top three causes of stress for people, whether it is payment of taxes or mortgages, loans, payment of bills. There are many reasons why people get stressed about money. I don't want you to share how stressed you are, but what I would request you to do is on a scale of 0 to 10, make a note of how much does finance stress you. If you are not at all stressed by finances, managing money, taxes, then it is 0. But if you are get highly stressed about finances, then make a note of that it is 10 for you. And once you have done this exercise, you please share D in the chat so that we know you have made a note. And if you're comfortable, you want to share in the chat, we are happy to hear from you. How much do you get stressed about money, or rather lack of it? Is it your fear that it will run out? Do you feel that it is never enough? Whatever it is, please share in the chat. What is it about money that stresses you? How stressed you are about money? Please rate yourself and type D in the chat box once you have rated yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, how stressed you are about money. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Ruchi. 5, never enough. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Please let it keep coming. What causes you stress about money and how stressed you are on a scale of 0 to 10? 0 being very low stress and 10 being very high stress. I'll urge everybody to be actively involved in the session. That is how you will be able to make the most out of the session. And what I'm going to share in the session today, thank you, Rajiv, is the strategies which I have personally used to get richer and wealthier. Uh, the uh, the session today is about financial peace. And the reason this is very important for us is because when we are disturbed or we are stressed about finance, we are not able to focus at our work. Whether you are a self-employed professional or a business owner, if you're stressed about money, it impacts your performance. And it is very important for us to become stress free so that we can give our best and make the most out of our lives and our professions. Before we really begin, I would request you to share your expectation from the session. What is it that you would like to learn from the session or take away from the session so that I can do my best to make this truly worthwhile for you? Okay, Sunil noted that. Please take a minute to share with us what is your expectation. Mandar, the session is recorded and the recording is shared on in the group. So I'll request you not to allow the AI tool to take notes. You can view the recording later and take your notes. How to make money and save. Okay, very nice. How to reduce it to 1. Okay. Okay, Rajiv, thank you. So friends, please let your expectations come in and I will try and how to make money work for us with lesser risk. Okay. Some of the things, this session is actually divided into 2 parts. We are going to talk about income and expenses today. And we are going to talk about how rich keep getting richer in the next session. So let's get started. And the session today is a basic one. This is about personal finance, not so much about investment. So don't expect me to share tips with you on which mutual fund to invest in or whether to go for stocks or property, which property. No, it's not about that. It is about understanding us in relation to money. I'll introduce myself. I'm the founder of Mindful Living. And I'm a finance professional, a MBA in finance and a cost accountant, and FLMI. And being a finance professional, I used to think that money, or rather personal finance, is all about being knowledgeable about finances. But I realized, and that has been my journey, that it is more about behavior, understanding how we behave with respect to money rather than knowledge about the money. And these are the things that we are going to talk about in the session today. As I mentioned, the session is divided into two parts, one about income and expenses, which we are going to focus on today. And I would like you to keep it interactive and pose as many questions as you can so that we derive the most value out of this session. Keep your cameras on so we can have an interactive session. It's a small community. These days, we are not sharing the invites for our sessions outside the community. The idea is so that this is an intimate group where people can come out openly and share their doubts and discussions. Please keep your notepad ready so that you can take notes, because there are many interesting things that we're going to share. Please make sure that you're not disturbed by your phone. Keep it on silent, because what we're going to share, you will be able to make the maximum out of it if you're in an undistracted state of mind. And don't believe what I am saying. Do your own research before you come to any conclusion. There are some things which I will be sharing which you might already know, some things which you may agree with, some things which you may not agree with. But don't switch off if you don't agree with it or you already know it. Stay focused on what is one thing that you can get out of the session which can truly transform your life. For me, one of the transformational statements was from Warren Buffett, which I live my life by, is that the most important investment you can make is investment in yourself. And the more you learn, the more you earn, because earning is a part of learning. So if you see how learn is spelled, it has got earn in it. So the more the learning, more the earning. And it's very interesting why any thoughts on why Warren Buffett says that the most important investment is in yourself? You can unmute yourself and speak, or you can type in the chat. Why investing in learning, your own learning, or investment in self is the most important? Somebody once asked Warren Buffett, please recommend what is the best investment. The person may be thinking that he'll recommend some stock, like we have this habit of asking for stock tips. Which share should I buy, which I can buy cheap and sell, at a higher price to make money? And Warren Buffett replied by saying the best investment you can make is investment in yourself. While you're pondering on the answer is that investment, when we invest in stocks, it will give 10, 20, or let me ask you, I don't know if you invest in stocks or real estate, but if you do, what is the kind of return you can expect if you're investing in stocks, real estate, or a mutual fund or gold? What is the return you expect? Please type in the chat or unmute and speak. What is the return you expect when you invest in FD, gold, real estate, mutual fund, shares? Thank you for sharing that, Ruchi. Our investment should grow. Okay, some peanut returns. Okay. So the returns are like, if you are investing in gold and FDs, it may be 5-10%. If you're investing in mutual fund, it may be 10-15%. Stocks might be 15-20%, like that. But let me ask you a question. How much did you invest in your education? By education, I mean the amount you spend in your college education, and how much have you returned during the work that you have during your career? And the answer is infinite. When we invest in our own learning, the returns that we get are infinite. When we invest in stocks, it may be the 100% return, 200% return, 500% return, 1000% return. But when we invest in our own education, you get infinite returns. And I must compliment each one of you for taking out time to invest in your education, and in investing in learning about money, how to manage money, so that you can, be happier and more productive in your personal life and professional life. And what I'm going to be sharing today and in the next session is basis my own study and following Robert Kiyosaki, who's the author of this seminal book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he started out by selling as a salesman in Xerox, and today is worth more than $500 million. Dave Ramsey, who was a millionaire, then became bankrupt, and then used the principles that I'm going to talk about today, which I have learned from him, and has become a multimillionaire once again. So these are what I'm going to share with you is coming from the best in class teachers and my own personal experience. And Dave Ramsey says that, which is what I was referring to earlier also, winning at money is 80% behavior and 20% knowledge. And earlier I used to think the opposite, that it is all about knowledge. And that is what scares people about money. People think I need to be very knowledgeable, bahut gyani hona padega, but it's more about behavior. Simple things, if you can learn and follow, you will do extremely well in the life. And the problem is, इट्स नॉट दैट यू डोंट नो इट. मैं जब आपको बताऊंगा कि क्या है गोल्डन रूल ऑफ पर्सनल फाइनेंस, आप बोलेंगे ये तो मुझे पहले से ही पता था, हमारे दादा परदादा सब यही बता रहे थे. बट प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है कि रूल क्या है, प्रॉब्लम ये है कि उसको फॉलो कैसे करें, और उसके बारे में भी हम बात करेंगे. And this is what Dave Ramsey says, it's not what we know or don't know, but it's about how we behave with respect to what we know. And that is where I've I have done these sessions earlier for our community also, and for many other companies. But for what I'm going to do it for the first time in the session today is share how I implemented these strategies in my life. And there is another very interesting statement which Dave Ramsey makes is, we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. This is so true of so many people today, but it's more sad than it is funny, but this is the reality of our times. Now, coming to the main topic for today, we are going to talk about income and expenses. That's what we're going to focus on today. And income, we all understand, is something that comes in, something that we earn. And there are two main categories of income. One is active income, and second is passive income. The money we earn by salary or by way of business that we do or consultancy that we render is called active income. And income that comes from dividend, interest, and rent is passive income. The difference is I need to work. If I go to office, I'll get salary. If I don't go to office, or if I'm not in a job or not in a business, I'll not get. Passive income is something which keeps coming to you whether you're working or not. If I'm sleeping throughout the day or I'm not working for 1 year, my rent will still come. The interest on the investments or FDs I have will still come. The dividend will still come. And the ratio of active income and passive income is also very important. We are going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So please understand the two main categories of income that we have, active and passive. And we're going to talk more about this later, why this matters. And the second thing is expenses, and there are different heads of expenses. Rent, salary, that we pay to the people who work for us, EMIs, and these days people are up to their neck in EMIs. Home loan are there, car loans are there, personal loans are there, then people take loan against shares, then people take loan against property, then they borrow on their credit card, and then that's how they keep spending. And this causes so much stress, that sometimes people commit suicide. It's not unusual for people to commit suicide. And I am often invited by companies to come and address their employees on how to manage their money so that they don't get into this trap of taking more and more loan just to fund their lifestyle. So this is income and these are expenses. Now, the 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 big thing about understanding, and this is what I did when I started. So I worked in the corporate sector for 25 years, and then I started on my own about 5 years back when I started Mindful Living. And one of the first things I did was to decide that I'll have not one, but three main sources of income. So multiple source of income. This is the de-risk strategy that everybody should work on. While I was in the corporate career, the first time I was laid off when September 2011 happened. I used to work for a share broking company. The September 2011 happened and the stock market tanked, and the share broking company where I was working for, they fired me overnight. Then I realized that this is 20, more than 22, 23 years back. That time, salary was the only income source of income I used to have, and वो खत्म हो गई, stop हो गई. तो एकदम I was like high and dry, completely high and dry. But when I started on my own, and then intervening next 15, 20 years, I planned my salary, my investments very well. So I have rental income, I have dividend income, and I have fair bit of passive income and work. There is income which from the work that I do. So I now have multiple sources of income. So even if one source of income goes, I'm not worried. There is income coming in from two other sources, and I can, make up for it. It gives me that cushion to make up for it. The other thing which I realized is very important. We are all very familiar about return on investments, ROI. So a lot of people will talk about मेरे को FD में सबसे ज्यादा रिटर्न कहाँ मिल जाएगा, अपने पेरेंट्स के नाम पे इन्वेस्ट करते हैं ½ % एक्स्ट्रा लेने के लिए, या कोई रिस्की इन्वेस्टमेंट ढूंढते हैं, कोई छोटी कंपनी NBFC जो 10%, 20%, 15% रिटर्न. So we are all very focused on return on investment. But what I realized was there is an even bigger game, which is rate of savings. And more than return on investment, what is important is rate of savings. And when we are focused on increasing the rate of savings, the prosperity which happens is a completely different level. Rate of investment definitely plays a part, but rate of savings is an underrated factor which we don't focus on. So it is important for us to focus on rate of savings. So if I'm earning 100 rupees and if I'm saving 10 rupees, my rate of saving is 10 rupees, 10%. If I'm saving 15 rupees, it's 15%. And then the next is the financial freedom quotient, which I referred to earlier. Identify what is your active income and what is your passive income, and determine the financial freedom quotient. I'm not going to recommend what that quotient should be, but if your passive income is very low compared to your active income, so let us say that your total income is 100 rupees for the sake of simplicity, and your active income is 100 rupees and passive income is 10 rupees, then your financial freedom quotient is 10%, 1/10. So your idea should be, how can I invest more and more of my active income to increase my passive income? That financial freedom quotient, when you goes up to 20%, your passive income is 20% of your active income, or 30%, 40%, 50%. The higher your passive income is, the more you can be financially free. And what financially free means, that you don't have to work for money. Like, I'm financially free now. Today, the work I do is what I choose to do. Even if I don't do any work, my money will keep coming and my household will still run. And, I have two young daughters who are studying in school. So it's not that मेरे को संन्यास ले लिया, मेरे को पैसे की जरूरत नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है. पूरा फुल फ्लेज्ड मेरा घर चल रहा है. और वो financial freedom quotient, मैंने जैसा like I mentioned earlier, I worked on my passive income over 20 years and built up the passive income to a level where I could take that call that even if my active income does not come, I can run my household. So focus on this component of financial freedom quotient. Then the most important lesson which I learned is the golden rule of personal finance. If you would like to learn the golden rule of personal finance, please type GR in the chat box. Thank you, Ruchi. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Vidya. Only 4 people want to know Richard. Okay. Only 5 people want to know golden rule of personal finance. We are 13 in the session today. Thank you. Thank you. So for those of you who want to know the golden rule of personal finance, you will say, Ashish, what is it that you're sharing? This, ये तो हमको पहले से ही पता था. The golden rule of personal finance is whatever income from that, first you do your investments, then you do your expense. Normally हम लोग क्या करते हैं, जो हमारी इनकम आती है उसमें खर्चा कर देते हैं और उसके बाद कुछ पैसा बचता है तो उसको हम सेव करते हैं. But the golden rule of personal finance is first you, and I'm not going to get into discussion about goal-based financial planning. That's a different topic altogether. But basically decide what you want to save. So if you're earning 100 rupees per month, whether you're going to save 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 40, I don't know. I'm not prescribing that percentage, but whatever you decide, say you decide 20 rupees I'll save out of 100 rupees, then 80 is what I am spending. Not that I will spend whatever I need to spend and then I'll save balance. This difference you can make. It sounds very simple, but is extremely challenging, right? And if you can master this simple thing of managing your expenses within your income, this was very simple 20-30 years back when my in my time of my parents, because those days there were no credit cards, there were no personal loans. तो अगर मेरे पिताजी को 1,000 रुपए इनकम आती थी तो उसी में मेरी माँ घर चलाती थी. उसको कोई और ऑप्शन नहीं था कि इस महीने 1,200 क्रेडिट कार्ड पे खर्चा कर दिया या किसी से लोन ले लिया या किसी बैंक वाले ने दे दिया, तो उतने इनकम में चलाते थे. लोग कहते भी हैं कि जितनी चादर है उतना ही पैर फैलाओ, ये हम सबको मालूम है. बट आजकल का एनवायरनमेंट ऐसा हो गया है कि हम लोग वो कर नहीं पाते आसानी से. वी स्लिप बिकॉज ऑफ इजी अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ टुडे. देयर आर कंपनीज विच आर गिविंग यू सैलरी लोन्स. So if you have a salary, they will fund loans to you basis that. Then they'll credit cards and so many other things. And then we start spending more than what we are earning. So the biggest change which I made in my own life was I started spending less than what I was earning. And what I'm going to share now is, the 7 steps or 7 change in mindset that I did, which helped me make this transition. Because it's very simple to say कि income से कम खर्चा करो, but करो कैसे? That is what I'm going to attempt to answer. But I'll pause here to see if you have any questions or comments before I proceed further. If this is making sense to you, please type MS in the chat box. If this is, if you want to know something more, please. Okay, thank you, Ruchi. Thank you, Vidya. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Richard. Okay. So I'll share with you my journey about, how I became richer. And for those of you who have been following me, this has not been an easy journey. When I started on my own, I had no money and my checks were bouncing. And I have, if you go back on Mindful Living YouTube channel, I'll request Fahad to share the link of YouTube channel, or Ruchi, if you can do that. You will go and see, I have shared my story how when I started, my checks were bouncing. I had no money. And from that stage to today, where I have abundant money, is this journey and what I have done. The first, one of the first things, which happened, and this is like, this kind of happened along the way. First thing is I became a minimalist. It's not that I left my job and started my business and became minimalist. It's just happened at that point of time. I happened to attend a session by Sudha Murthy where she was talking about how she has not bought anything for 25 years. And this was like 25 years, 5 years back. So it must be 30 years now. She said, except for books, medicines, and food, I have not bought anything in 25 years. I was highly impressed, and she is like a billionaire living that lifestyle where she has not bought for 25 years, and she is very joyful and very vivacious. It's not like कि मैं कुछ खरीद नहीं रही हूँ तो मेरा जिंदगी बेकार हो गया, मैं फ्रस्ट्रेटेड जी रही हूँ, ऐसा एकदम खुश। आप कभी भी उनको मिलो, इतना हाई एनर्जी, इतना बढ़िया बात करते हैं, इतना खुश, इतना हंस के बात करते हैं कि उसका लिमिट नहीं है। बट so that inspired me, and for last 5 years I haven't bought anything. In fact, I'll throw a challenge. You go, and there are 180 videos of mine on the YouTube living mindful living YouTube channel. आपको मेरे 5 शर्ट से ज्यादा और 5 टी शर्ट से ज्यादा नहीं दिखेगा। अगर आपको छठा शर्ट और छठा टी शर्ट दिखता है ना, मैं आपको 1,000 रुपए दूंगा फॉर एवरीथिंग एक्स्ट्रा अबव 5 दैट यू फाइंड। So basically, I have not bought any clothes in last 5 years, except when I need to replace. अगर शर्ट फट गई है तो उसको रिप्लेस किया, रिप्लेस की बात अलग है, बट खरीदा नहीं मैंने। 5 years, no, expensive pen, except for books and food. मेडिसिन में खाता नहीं हूँ, बुक्स एंड फूड मैंने कुछ नहीं खरीदा। एंड आई कैन टेल यू हाउ हैप्पी आई एम। मतलब मेरी खुशी का वो नहीं है, मतलब आई डोंट फील फ्रस्ट्रेटेड, ये वो कुछ नहीं, एकदम आई एम लाइक एकदम हैप्पी विद दिस। एंड पीपल से कि कंजूस, कई मैं मेरी बेटी मेरे को बोलती है, आप कितने पापा कंजूस हो, आप पैसा ही नहीं खर्चा करते। बट जो किशोर बयानी जी हैं, मेरे एक फ्रेंड उनके साथ काम करते थे, और वो बताते थे कि किशोर जी बोलते हैं कि गर्व से कहो हम कंजूस हैं। उस समय मुझे लगता था ये कैसी बातें कर रहे हैं यार, बट उनके लोग कहते हैं किशोर जी के ऑफिस में भी जाओगे तो चाय आपको कटिंग चाय देंगे, वो फुल कप चाय नहीं देते, आधा कप ही चाय देते हैं। तो ये कंजूसी का एक बहुत हम नेगेटिवली लेते हैं, बट कंजूसी का एक बहुत बड़ा फायदा है। एंड वेदर यू कॉल दिस मिनिमलिस्ट और यू कॉल दिस कंजूस और से दैट आई एम गर्व से कंजूस, whatever, but there is big merit in that, and I over a period of time I've implemented this. I minimized my staff. Though I supported my staff during COVID period, but after that I let go of my staff, and I managed curtail my expenses to a minimum in every which way, and that helped me a lot. I'll pause to see if you have any questions or comments about being a minimalist, and then I'll move forward. And there is another aspect to this which I realized because I was recently learning about chakras also, and about the Mooladhara chakra. It's related to our consumption. And what I learned was, when you reduce your consumption, your Mooladhara chakra becomes more powerful. And that is the basis, Mooladhar, that's the basis of our existence. And then you become stronger and more prosperous. So that is about becoming a minimalist. Either now or later, I'll be happy to address any questions on that. Then, as I mentioned earlier, I am invited by corporates to do sessions on personal financial management for their employees. And I was doing a session for one company, and there was one young girl who asked me, if we don't spend, what will happen to the economy of the India? So there is this thought process that you need to spend more to grow the economy. And the point is, there is a difference between government of India, the way they manage economy, and the way individuals should manage an economy. If the government borrows money to spend on infrastructure projects, it is okay. You don't borrow money to live beyond your means and then be completely under the debt. The picture you see here is of Sisyphus. He was a king who was cursed that every day in the morning he needs to roll this stone up the mountain, and then at the evening it will come down, and the whole life he was doing that. And that is how debt becomes. People first start by spending money on credit card beyond their income. Then one credit card becomes full, they'll take second credit card, then that also becomes full. I was in one session, there was one person who had 6 credit cards, and then what they do is, when all the cards become full, then they take personal loan, and then the cards become empty, and then they start. So the whole cycle keeps going on. My request is don't worry about driving Indian economy. Let government worry about that. आप अपना economy संभाल लो, अपनी income से कम खर्चा करो, आप खुश रहोगे. अपनी income से ज्यादा खर्च करोगे तो आप bankrupt हो जाओगे. Okay, this is what happens with many other, even seasoned business professionals. We have seen the business owner of Cafe Coffee Day commit suicide because he could not manage. He took on so much debt to fund the growth. He could not manage and he committed suicide. So whether it is 5 lakhs or 50 lakhs or 5 crores or 5,000 crores, if you are living beyond your means, it's a sure shot recipe for disaster. Another factor which changed, influenced me a lot was this book called The Latte Factor. And latte is coffee. And what he says is, if you drink 2 cups of coffee less, can you imagine what is the amount of impact it can have on your finances? Anybody would like to share? अगर कोई 2 कप कॉफी कम पिएगा मार्केट से खरीद के, तो उसका लाइफ में क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा, उसके फाइनेंशियल फ्यूचर में क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा. And no right or wrong answers. We are not testing your knowledge, just having a discussion. A lot of money will be saved by having 2 cups of coffee less. Okay, very nice. Anybody else? What is the difference it will make to your financial future? And I can understand that you can't put your camera on because you may not be comfortable, but I would appreciate if you are participative and active either on chat or unmute yourself and speak, because this is not school, right? We are a small community where we are sharing. And if I don't hear from you, it really puzzles me. Okay, so let me share with you what the author says is, by having 2 cups of coffee less, you can become a dollar millionaire, okay, in your lifetime. And it's very simple calculations. About, I think, $2 or $4 he has taken per cup of coffee. So about $4 to $8 per day if you save and you invest over a lifetime, which earns 12% return, you become a dollar millionaire. And उस दिन मैंने समझा कि 100 रुपए भी बचाने की क्या वैल्यू होती है. उससे पहले मैं 100 रुपए के बारे में ज्यादा सोचते नहीं, क्या सोचते हैं, 100 रुपए ऐसे ही खर्चा हो जाता है. तो मुझे समझ में आया कि 100 रुपए भी कितना इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. अगर आप 100 रुपए रोज बचा रहे हो, तो आपको लगता है वो 100 रुपए बचा बचा के कितना पैसा आप इकट्ठा कर सकते हो, आप सोच सकते हो. अगर आप 100 रुपए रोज बचाओगे और उसको सिस्टमैटिकली इन्वेस्ट करोगे, फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ रिचर्ड, इफ यू सेव 100 रुपीज ए डे and invest it over a lifetime, how much will it amount to? How much do you think? No right or wrong answers. Any guess will do. If you save and invest 100 rupees a day, how much will this amount to? Depends on the compound interest. Okay, you take some assumption, 6%, 12%, 15%. Maybe 10 lakhs. Okay. So Sunil, why don't you take another more ambitious estimate? And if you're on your, I think most of you would be on your laptops. If you go and do a search on SIP calculator, you will see some mutual funds calculators will come up. and there go and say that you save 100 rupees per day is 3,000 rupees per month. So say you want to save 3,000 rupees per month for next 20, 30 years. Assume some rate of interest that you're comfortable with, 10, 12, 15%, and see what comes up for you. Google on SIP calculator. You will see a lot of SIP calculators come up from different mutual funds. Go and say, Ruchi, why don't you also do it? Say you want to save 3,000 rupees per month for 20 or 30 years. Assume a rate of interest of 12% or 15%, which is what your index funds give you, and see what comes up. Yeah, okay, Rajiv. If you can, please do this calculation. While we are on the call, I'm waiting for Sunil and Ruchi to do it. Google SIP calculator. Some mutual funds calculators will come up. 100 rupees per day is 3,000 rupees per month. Take investment period of 20, 30 years. Take interest rate of 12% or 15%, which is what index funds give.
It is 1 crore in 30 years.
Ruchi is go. What's the rate of interest you've assumed, Ruchi?
12%.
12%. So 3,000 rupees invested per month for 30 years, which is the working span of most people. Even if you are 50 and you start saving now for next, you can save for 3,000 rupees for next 30 years. You will have 1 crore when you are at the age of 80. Or if you are, 1 crore 5 lakhs. Absolutely right. तो हम लोग कभी 100 रुपए बचाने के बारे में सोचते नहीं है. We just spend 100 rupees like that. But that was my big realization that, 100 rupees saving. And then from that day onwards, if I could afford if I have to travel by cab, rather than sedan, I'll book mini. Rather than mini, I'll book an auto. So I will save. I became conscious of even 100 rupees. If I can save 50 rupees, 100 rupees, I started making that switch. So that is the difference which helped. And, that is what is helping me go forward. So this latte factor is very, very important. Small amount of savings and invested over a long period of time can make a big difference. This is 3,000 rupees. If you can do 6,000 rupees, you will have 2 crore rupees. If you can do 9,000 rupees, you will have 3 crore rupees.
We can make a jar and put 100 rupees daily in a jar.
Every day. Yeah, very nice. And then, there's another wonderful book by the Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. And in this book, he says the first rule for people becoming wealthy, what the media does is they show that wealthy have this lifestyle. They're living in fancy houses. They're, having fancy cars, driving yachts, and so many other things. He says they did research of hundreds and thousands of people in America, and they found that that is not how typically millionaires are. They say millionaires live in ordinary homes, driving ordinary second-hand cars, and that's how the people are. So they found that it is not what is portrayed by media that is real wealthy, but what they said is, in fact, those people who are driving fancy cars and living in rich upscale localities, in fact, they may be financially poorer than some of the other people. So it is very important that we live below our means. That is something which is important. And in my own context, I'll share with you that this is a question which I often get asked. I don't know whether people ask in a friendly mode to know or to size. Sometimes people, want to size you up. So people ask me, which car do you drive? And I said, I don't have a car. Earlier, I used to have a SUV which got stolen, and I didn't replace that. Then I was driving my wife's car. And then when we moved from Delhi to Pune, we even sold that. So today we don't even have a car. Forget car, we don't even have a two-wheeler. We don't. So it's not, and the reason is not because I don't have money. It's because I don't have a need. अगर जरूरत होगी तो मैं खरीद लूंगा, but if there is no need, then why should I invest 10, 20, 30, 40 lakhs in a car? So living below your means is not sacrificing your happiness, but understanding what you need. And then rather than, I am not going to buy a car because my self-worth is linked to the logo of the car. I'm not going to buy a car because my neighbor wants me to buy a car or it will make me look good in my society. I'll buy a car if it serves some purpose. Right now, it doesn't serve any purpose for me, so I'm not buying it. So living consciously, spending consciously, living below your means is a short way to become richer. Today, we are not going to talk about wealth so much. So there are two parts, becoming richer and becoming wealthier. Today, we're going to talk about becoming richer. In the next session, we're going to talk about becoming wealthier. And then the other thing is automate your savings. So usme dimag nahi lagana. Whatever amount it is, 3,000 rupees, 6,000, 50,000, 60,000, 1 lakh. Put SIPs in that. There are a lot of systems which are available today. You can just do SIPs. And that is what I have done. So every month, and that is also, which rule is this linked to? Automating savings is linked to which rule that we discussed earlier? Please type in the chat. Automating savings, which is that, there is certain amount, fixed amount, which gets invested even before I spend, is linked to which rule I talked about earlier. Is the golden rule of personal finance that you save first and then you spend. Saving minus spending, minus investment is your expense. So when you automate your savings, you ensure that savings get taken care of first, and whatever remains is what is available for spending. So I have SIPs running, so I've automated my savings. And the next one is credit card. One needs to be, a credit card is what smoking is to our health. Credit card is to financial health. So be very careful about using credit cards. In July 2023, I completely paid off my credit card. And after that, I use credit cards more for points, but then I ensure that I 100% settle credit card in the monthly cycle. So I have zero credit card debt. And this is something which is very, very important for us. This is also linked to spending mindfully. So let debit card be your first port of call when it comes to spending rather than swiping credit cards. So be very careful about credit cards. And, this is something which I realized that it is not what you earn that matters, but it is what you save that matters. So let's take example of two people, one who makes 1 lakh rupees per month and saves 10,000 rupees per month and does not spend anything on his continuing education, versus person B who earns 50,000 rupees per month, invests 10,000 rupees per month in stock market. So both of them invest the same amount of money, 10,000 rupees in the same mutual funds. Assume it's the same mutual funds, but he also spends 1,000 rupees per month in his continuing education. Like you are coming and investing yourself in educating yourself. He's also, buying books, reading, attending the seminars, whatever. Whose future is going to be better? Who is earning 1 lakh rupees per month or who is earning 50,000 rupees?
The person who is investing 1,000 per month on himself.
Yeah. the distinguishing feature, of course, is that he is investing 1,000 rupees. But the another point is that both of them are saving the same amount of money. अगर वो भी 10,000 रुपए बचा रहा है, ये भी 10,000 रुपए बचा रहा है, और सेम जगह इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, तो फाइनेंशियल फ्यूचर सेम होगा. When they retire, both of them are going to have the same kitty. This was a very important thing. A lot of us are very stressed about how much am I earning, how much is my neighbor earning, how much is my colleague earning, what is the increment I got. There, one of the reasons I decided to do this now is because this is finance time, and this is going to be promotions and increment time in some months from now, and we are all worried कितना increment हुआ, ये हुआ, वो हुआ. But वो तो जरूरी है, but more important is how much are you saving. And typically what happens is when the increments happen and the income goes up, our standard of living goes up, our rate of saving does not go up. And that is the difference I brought about, that as my income goes up now, I increase my investment rather than increasing my spending. And that is how that creates more and more abundance. And so it's very important to understand what is our goal and have a plan for that. And these are some steps which I mentioned, which is a part of my action plan to create my abundance. And learn, continue to invest in your learning, which is what you have done by attending this session today. And these are some amazing books. The Richest Man in Babylon. This is a very thin and very interesting book. The Psychology of Money. We did a session with Avdesh Nagar on Psychology of Money a couple of months back. And that is amongst the top videos in our Mindful Living YouTube channel. So you can go back and revisit this video session. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I talked about. So these are some of the books that you can pick up, read, and that will influence you more. So the session today is a first step to walk forward. You can read these books, or if you would like to schedule a time with me, you can WhatsApp me or email me. Or if you would like to invite me, or those who are watching this video, if you would like to invite me for a session in your corporate, you can reach out to me using these coordinates. And now I would like you to do this financial stress test again and share with me, has your stress levels come down? What is your stress level now compared to what it was earlier? And what is the reduction? If you can share with me the numbers, earlier it was 8, it is 5 now, then I know. Otherwise, you can just say it's a reduction of 3. So I'd like to hear from you. What is that reduction? Or if you can share the number, what it was earlier and now, that is what I would appreciate. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Ruchi. So, thank you, Vidya. So the 30% reduction in financial stress, by investing 1 hour in learning about it. When you start practicing this, your life will continue to go in an upward spiral. Any one of these things, you don't need to do all the 7 things together. Any one of them you pick up and start working on, it will make sure that your life will keep getting better and better. So that is the session for today. Most probably our next session will be next Saturday at 11 a.m. We will share the details in the group. So stay tuned for that announcement, and we'll be happy to take any questions or comments from you. We'll be happy to hear from you. Any one takeaway that you have from the session today, we'll be happy to hear that. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Vidya. Please type in the chat one takeaway from the session today. One thing that you liked that you will start doing. Save 100 rupees every day. Thank you, Ruchi. Very powerful. What is GR, Richard? Thank you. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Srilata. Yeah. Maintenance of golden rules. Thank you. Okay. Say regular savings is the key, very important. And it need not be 100 rupees. I shared that by way of an example, even if it is 50 rupees or 20 rupees, whatever. अगर आप 50 करोगे तो 1 करोड़ की जगह 50 लाख हो जाएगा. तो 50 लाख भी कम थोड़ी ना है अगर आप 50 लाख इकट्ठा कर लोगे तो. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Sunil. So we'll be sharing the recording of this in the group. So please, I would urge you to watch this again. Start applying this in your life, because the proof of the pudding is when you apply it. And once you apply, you will start finding that there is immense benefit that comes from following these practices. We'll wait for another minute to see if there are any questions or comments. Thank you, Vidya. So I will also appreciate your sharing this in the main group, the Mindful Living group that you're a part of. Encourage people to watch the recording so that they can also benefit. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Swati. So please share your takeaways in the main group. Encourage people to watch the recording so that everybody can benefit from it. Thank you, everybody, for taking out time and joining the session today. Wishing you lots of abundance and prosperity, and look forward to having you join our next session. Have a wonderful weekend and a great week ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you, Richard.